Hello, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to Business Breakthroughs presented by Invest Ottawa. I'm your host, Barbara Balfour. Stay with us for the next 30 minutes as we chat with local business owners who navigated crisis during lockdown and who will share some of their secrets to staying resilient in challenging times. Today's show is the Foodie Edition, and I have the great pleasure of being joined by two entrepreneurs who are passionate about keeping you well fed in every way. First, I'm so pleased to welcome Paolo Zattolo of Quadrato Pizza and Restaurant on Somerset Street West. Quadrato opened for business in 2018 with the mission of sharing the unique tastes of Southern Italy. This charming boutique restaurant has grown their loyal fan base with gourmet thin crust pizzas and savory calzones. And I can't wait to hear all about it. Thank you so much for joining us, Paolo. We really look forward to hearing all about the nuances of the perfect pie.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to welcome Mike Coldray, who along with his wife Bianca owns Take Another Bite with locations in Manotick and Nepean. Mike leads the operational and strategic side of Take Another Bite. He's a serial entrepreneur whose previous experience included holding an equity stake with a technology startup and leadership positions with a large publicly traded firm. Mike and Bianca have 3 children and are very active in the community, raising money for local charitable causes, sponsoring youth activities, and volunteering with their local minor hockey and Little League associations. Thanks so much for joining us, and welcome to the show, Mike.
Oh, thank you, Barbara. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Well, I want to thank you both for getting up at the crack of dawn to talk to me. I really appreciate it, although I understand that early start times and long hours come with the business. And you've obviously both been through a lot in the last year and a half. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about, to what degree do you think the pandemic has helped Canadians understand the lives of small business owners like yourselves? Have you found your clients have been more understanding, or have they adjusted their expectations? And I know, Paolo, you have a lot to say on the subject. I'd like to start with you. What has your experience been like?
It's for us being a small kind of boutique, style and nature operation. It's definitely been challenging to say the least. But I think we adapted well. Come the first lockdown, we adapted fairly well. Second lockdown pretty much happened kind of during our downslope. So. Again, we kind of maneuvered, but I'd say the third has been the worst. But at the same time, I think the reality for Ottawa, maybe even Ontario, has been obviously the third lockdown's been the worst, kind of the gravest for folks in Ottawa. So it's the third one's been really, really tough. But we're hoping to get back to some normalcy very soon. And kind of push forward.
Well, fair enough. And Mike, you weren't always in the food services business. You have a lot of experience in the tech industry. Tell us a little bit about how selling technology is similar to selling a great chicken parmesan.
No, thank you. And I'll kind of latch on or echo Paolo's points. I mean, yeah, we've kind of gone down this similar journey, right? Where there's no question turning back the clock to 16 months ago or the first lockdown, where effectively the city was a ghost town. And, while some aspect of business was able to, we were continuing to operate from a takeout perspective, some home delivery, that really wasn't how we engage for the most part with our client base. Takeout, yes, but home delivery, no. And so, yeah, I guess kind of reaching into my background, coming at this from the tech space, where my wife, brings the expertise from the culinary chef perspective. We were able to marry up the two skill sets, if you will, and the move to e-commerce, that was something that was always on the part of the roadmap, always part of the business plan. But I think it was the first lot that really kicked that up to the top of the list. That became priority one, because the fact of the matter is that there was no business coming in. We weren't really doing any home delivery at that point. And so that was a pivot for us. And so I guess, applying some lessons learned and experiences, from technology sales, applying that into the food services sector, and really accelerating the e-commerce aspect of our business, that gave us the foundation to pivot the business to sell online and to, set up a home delivery service. But then B, I guess the exception to that, it's all great to kind of have the foundation, but it's not the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. There always has to be a marketing initiative. And so with that, we kind of shifted where historically marketing was candidly kind of a little bit of an afterthought. We had quite a loyal client base in Manotick. We were getting further established in Nepean. And so we used to latch on to a lot of word of mouth, corporate catering and stuff like that to pay the bills. With that stuff now coming to a standstill, we really latched on to digital, both from an e-commerce perspective and then actually availing ourselves more of whether it be Instagram, Facebook advertising, leveraging tools like MailChimp, and actually harnessing a client base and doing top-of-mind permission-based email marketing, and really kind of just trying to shout from the hilltops and say, okay, folks, we're all in this together. There's a number of restrictions, but we're going to remain open to serve you. And while maybe the directive is to stay at home for now, we'll bring food to your door. And so we kind of went from being a regional operator where primarily servicing the catchment area of Manotick, a little bit of the Nepean area, and almost overnight said, okay, let's take our catering capacity where we would deliver across the city and now do that for home meal delivery. And so now from that point, we've been servicing the urban boundary. I'm sorry.
Do you do your own deliveries? Do you ever use third-party delivery apps?
Yeah, so I guess because of our catering background, we already had some vehicles and some delivery personnel in place, and so we were able to repurpose them where they would typically be going to a customer site. We would do a fair amount of corporate catering, things of that nature, some special events, some private functions, and basically repurpose them where now the catering business basically went off a cliff. Nobody was meeting, no parties, no events were taking place. So no, we continue to use our own vehicles. When we get into holidays, special events, and that continues to be big for us with Father's Day on the horizon, we don't have the surge capacity to continue with delivery. So on occasion, we'll use a third-party delivery service, but our core business is not really set up well for an Uber Eats or Skip the Dishes or what have you. So when we do need some backup from a delivery perspective, we'll look at a local courier company like a Go For It or something like that to kind of fill the void.
Now, Paolo, your business is perfectly set up, or I should say pizza is perfectly set up for third-party delivery apps, and I've certainly seen El Quadrato on Skip the Dishes and Uber Eats. What are your thoughts on that? And talk to us a little bit about why you started your business and how you pivoted over the last year and a half as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's been kind of a passion of mine for some time, and and the team, and yeah, we put it together. It took some time to kind of put everything together, but we made it happen. Did we kind of foresee operating predominantly on a third-party app system? No. Is it something that we rely on all year? No. But obviously during the pandemic we had to, and yeah, I mean it's been interesting. It's different. It's you're kind of on a time crunch. There could be, multiple orders come in, larger orders. All of a sudden, we're a small operation, so there's a lot of pressure on the kitchen. So it's a completely different experience, but I think we've adapted well, and something that we're a little bit more accustomed to in the winter months. So I would say probably about a 3-4 month window, maybe 5, and then we kind of pivot back, but. It's certainly been different. I'd say, it's not really a model. It's not really a model that we would predominantly want to focus or rely on. But really, it was initially just something to help us kind of get through the slower months, and obviously that kind of changed.
And I've seen pictures of your bustling patio during the summer months, pre-COVID. You must really miss having the chance to interact with your clients and meet your neighbors and sort of spill out in the street and share a piece of pie and maybe a beer. So I'm sure you're missing that social element because everybody loves pizza and people often do come together over pizza, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely miss that. We've got definitely a loyal following. I mean, we're still a fairly new business. We were less than 2 years old before the pandemic hit, probably about a year and a half in. So it's we certainly miss it. I think that's kind of I think that's really everything. It's that experience and kind of hosting that experience and meeting people. We see a lot of tourists. At our location, really, I would say right up until December. The winter months, January to March, might be a little slower with the tourism, but we definitely see a lot of tourists come through, and we certainly miss it. It's a lot of fun.
Talk to us about what makes the perfect pizza. Is it the dough? Is it the sauce? Is it the toppings? And how do you go about preparing it? What are some of the secrets of your trade that you can share with us anyway?
Yeah, I mean, for us, again, we're small. We try to keep everything fresh, small batches. I think as far as, I think it's about kind of the combination of everything. And kind of instilling a high quality in the products that you use as well. And I think we've done a good job doing that over time. If anything, we've tried to actually just upgrade where we could, and we've done that well. So I think it's just really a combination. Um, we've
What are
definitely
some of your
gotten
more
better.
premium ingredients?
Yeah, I mean, we use high quality cheeses, fior di latte. We use high quality mozzarella. Um, so I think I think that's really key. I think we've also gotten better at just making pizzas over the years. Personally, it's somewhere. What my first job was in a pizzeria when I was a youngin. So I mean, it's definitely phenomenal. I think it's a combination of kind of all the above, and just keeping kind of that high standard and consistency. I think that's something that's very important in our industry, especially with food.
So what does al quadrato mean in English?
Yeah, so essentially, when we were kind of putting everything together, we came up with the idea of, and it was I would think probably one we may have been the first to do it in the city. Actually, is a square pizza. So al quadrato means square in Italian. So we basically have a square kind of gourmet style pizza, personal sized, thin crust. Kind of a lot of influences from southern Italy, which is where my background's from. And Yeah, that's kind of how it came about.
So pizza is hyper regional. Certainly you can get a different kind of pizza depending on what country you're in, and it can even vary greatly between neighboring cities. Is there kind of a quintessential Ottawa pizza?
Yeah, I mean, well, you mentioned regional. Italy's very regional, so I think our pizza kind of has influences from, I would say, a good chunk of the southern regions, um, kind of maybe from Napoli and down. So my background's from Sicily, but I'd say the influences are certainly southern. Um, so yeah, I mean it gets very technical when you start comparing pizzas and like it almost could become kind of a heated debate. But
People
yeah,
get
it's
very passionate about their pizza. It's understandable.
yeah,
I'm
very
wondering
passionate about
about
pizza.
calzones. Sorry,
Yeah, very
I'm
passionate
just
about
wondering
pizza.
about
Very passionate about
calzones.
yeah, no, definitely very passionate about pizza. Very passionate about food. Again, calzones as well. I think we definitely put together something really nice on that front as well. But no, certainly, and but I think we've we've come up with something really nice. All considering, again, we operate in a smaller space. Our place is very kind of boutique style. We've been told very, very Italian, very European. So, kind of almost, if you're walking somewhere in maybe southern Italy or in Europe somewhere, that's kind of the same feel we have.
I want to switch gears over to Mike and ask you to take us to the very beginning of when Take Another Bite first opened. I understand that your wife Bianca unfortunately couldn't join us today, but she got the idea while on maternity leave, and she's originally from the land of Down Under, from Australia. I'm wondering if these sorts of businesses were maybe more prevalent back home. How did you get the idea? How did it all start, and why did you decide to start your own business when you did?
Yeah, no, thank you, Barbara. And I following on Paolo there, I'm actually starving now. That's fantastic with the calzones and the pizza. But no, direct to your question, and you're very well prepared. That's right. So my wife, who is I guess I'm the co-founder, but really who is the talent behind the business. And to your point, I guess duty calls, and actually with the bakery being a large aspect of our business, that also has very early morning starts where our production side can start as early as 3 a.m. So she passes along her regrets. I think she would either like to be in the chair beside me or, in fact, maybe even in the lead spot. But no, for her, duty calls. Now, on the second part of your question with respect to the roots of the business and the ideas behind it. Yeah, very true. Her background is quite diverse, classically trained executive chef, and to your point, out of Australia, so trained at the Sydney Culinary Institute. Her entire career spans the hospitality, food services business, where she's worked in high-end hotels and wine bars and high-end restaurants. And she continued to apply that trade local here to Ottawa. She then shifted gears and actually was recruited by the Farm Boy group of companies back in the I might be off a little bit on my timeline, but I'm going to say roughly 2002 timeframe to build out their gourmet to go or their home meal replacement category, which basically has been a resounding success to this day for Farm Boy. So she came in and built that from the ground up, developed the menus, developed the concepts for in store and what have you. And yeah, I guess
anything that she's developed at Farm Boy available for people to pick up today?
I apologize, Barbara. I just missed the part of your question there.
Have any of the dishes that Bianca developed for Farm Boy, are they available for pickup today? Can we see some of her creations on the
okay.
shelves?
Thank you. Well, yeah. So I guess it's interesting, right? Because now if you kind of dovetail almost into a quasi-legal conversation where you can't apply trademark, for example, to a recipe. But I think from her standpoint, it's a professional courtesy where, the stuff that she developed for them, I think she's kind of turned the page and doesn't want to infringe on that. Now, that being said, and I'm sure Paolo will take issue because you can't really say a pizza is a pizza. Obviously, the great stuff that he would produce and with compared to what a pizza chain would produce, those are kind of night and day. And so I think, now Farm Boy with the Sobeys ownership and, really becoming a mass retailer across the province and growing, it's slightly different play now where, the stuff she would produce is very much more home style cooking, I guess, if you will.
You supply, well, both of you really supply the food that people crave, right? I mean, people crave pizza, people crave a nice lasagna. Tell us about some of the more popular dishes that you have on offer, Mike, and how people can order them.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, we have quite an extensive menu. At last check, it's in fact it probably could stand to have a few items culled, but we're looking at about 800 plus SKUs. Now, under that, there's a number of variants and what have you, because we try to cater to dietary sensitivities and those that whether it be lactose free, gluten free, things of that nature, but. Yeah, if you kind of start to whittle things down and what we're known for and what we see sell through extensively, Bakery, extremely popular. Our Manotick location in particular has become a destination where we get lineups out the door on Saturdays, as an example, even during
What do they
COVID, where I
line
think
up
people.
for?
Yeah, so I think, probably at the top of the list would be cake, and whether it be to get cake slices or to buy a whole cake. Beyond that, we have scones, which we sell by the truckload. So fresh baked daily scones, very popular. A number of the classic squares and things of that nature, whether it be your brownies, Nanaimo bars, things of that nature. And then,
So
I guess what you touched upon.
Sweet tooth is welcome. Anyone with a sweet tooth is welcome.
Absolutely. Yeah, and just quickly, and then beyond that, I know you referenced as we kind of transition over into our flavor of home meal replacement, or our flavor of meals to go. Really broken that down into two categories: fresh to go, where basically customers, whether it be delivered to the door, could come into our place of business and enjoy, whether it be a nice chicken parm or a nice salmon dish, fresh salads, things of that nature. And then the frozen side, that's something that in particular, when we pivoted to e-commerce and really shifted the business, because as mentioned earlier on, the catering business basically dried up, and so we needed to quickly backfill that lost revenue stream. And that's actually done the job and more, where now routinely we have delivery drivers going across the city, or customers coming into one or two locations, and they're stocking up. They're buying family-sized meals, basically throwing them in the freezer. And then on the day they want to enjoy, whether it be a beef lasagna or a nice beef bourguignon or a stroganoff or a salmon or what have you, they simply defrost it overnight, reheat it in the oven, and enjoy a beautiful chef-prepared meal. Works very well for those that want a night off cooking, or busy families that are. I know we're not necessarily running to the kids' activities right now, although it looks like that's going to resume shortly. So for the busy lifestyle, that works very well.
Absolutely. Now, you also pride yourself on making the kind of preservative-free, locally made food that doesn't have the long ingredient lists. Tell us a little bit about that sassy move you had when the Cake Boss came into town and opened up those infamous vending machines at the Resto Center.
Yeah, well, we certainly try to keep our pulse on the trends and and what's kind of grabbing oxygen, through the various media channels and what have you. And yeah, the example you bring up, certainly can recall turning back the clock to last spring, where it was quite a splash made over vending machines, and in particular for cakes. I think from Paolo's perspective, we've heard in recent times now there's some pizza vending machines that have entered into the local Ottawa region as well. But yeah, specifically to Carlo's Bake Shop, Chef Buddy there at the Cake Boss. We felt we had a role to play to give a friendly jab in return to say, okay, that's that there's an institution down in New Jersey that's world famous. People line up out the door to get a cake slice, but may not be the same experience going to the Resto Center and purchasing a $10 slice of cake out of a vending machine. Support local. We're one player in this where we feel we have an equal, if not better quality product. And by the way, it's not chock full of stabilizers and preservatives and a bunch of ingredients you can't pronounce. Our ingredient list is pretty short, and it's all product you're familiar with. And so it was right around the time to a Black Friday. So for the first time in our history, we had a Black Friday sale, and basically, as a loss leader, sold jumbo slices of cake, for $2.50, and it was extremely well received. No, for sure, and I think too, when you touched upon this briefly earlier on, and I think going back to, and kudos to the city of Ottawa. I think the call which has gone out through media and various channels to support local. We've certainly been a net benefactor of that, and we're grateful for, I think, that heightened sensitivity or awareness to support local business. I think people making a point, and I think that was an example where people said, That maybe as a novelty, I'll get my picture taken with the vending machine, or I'll drop $10 once to get a overpriced preservative, chock full of preservative slice of cake. But my better bet is to probably support a local company such as Take Another Bite.
Paolo, I want to shift the conversation back to you. I'm wondering, since there are so many players in the pizza market, is it difficult for you to continue putting out a quality product, and stay profitable? Do you ever have customers coming to you and saying, "Oh, well, this guy down the street is selling pizza for $2 less," and how do you respond?
I wouldn't say so. I would say that the industry's definitely had its struggles, as far as the bigger players in the industry shifting from supporting restaurants and caterers and so on and so forth, to having to shift to retail kind of. So I think that our major suppliers and so on. So I think there's been a big shift in the background. They've had to kind of maneuver. As far as I wouldn't say so. We've not, we haven't really, as far as pricing is concerned, we haven't really increased our pricing. We've kept everything the same. So that's never really come up, to be honest. And I mean,
we only have a couple minutes left before the end of our show, and I really want to know one thing, in that what sort of pain points did you have that Invest Ottawa helped you address or resolve?
Yeah, so I would say that I would say that the digital branding, the presence, is something that we definitely needed some assistance and guidance and help on. And they're basically a group of professionals, just phenomenal people to work with, and they've certainly helped us kind of really step up our game on that front. As long as you can kind of invest the time in working with them, it was an absolute amazing experience.
Great. And we're almost at the end of our time together. Mike, you talked a little bit about how sometimes the digital marketing strategy tends to go out the window when you're just trying to make a living. But if you can just really quickly comment on what the digital Mainstreet program was able to provide for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would fully agree and echo Paolo's comments. A fantastic experience. I think direct to us, we had a little bit of a running start where, I was able to reach back into some of my experiences and start to put together, an initial e-commerce site. But I think, we certainly like to avail ourselves of experts and certainly don't have all the answers. And the fact they had a team of folks who had expertise across the board and who provided us really, I think they accelerated the completion of our initiatives, and whether it was stitching together applications so everything flowed seamlessly and worked nicely together. So I basically had that single pane of glass to manage everything.
Thank you so much, Mike. I want to thank you. I want to thank you both for joining me so early in the morning and for providing us with a front row seat to what it means to be a business owner in these challenging times. Unfortunately, we are at the end of our time together. These shows are never long enough. But for those of you who are watching today's episode of Business Breakthroughs presented by Invest Ottawa, don't forget to support local, and we'll see you again next week. Have a great day.